Well, good morning. Yes, it's me, Kenny Polcari, your host of the party, and here I am once again back in Cape Cod. You can see Buzzards Bay there behind me. The sky is just beautiful. It's a little bit cloudy, but the sun is out, and it's about 85 degrees down here. Anyway, today is Monday, July 22nd, 2024, and here are the things that you need to know. Well, stocks continued to trade lower last week and again on Friday, although futures this morning are suggesting a small bounce. Biden is out. But who is in? That's going to be the big question. Oil is down on an expected ceasefire in the Israeli-Gaza war. Gold is up on the prospect of lower rates. Lower rates will cause the dollar to decline and support gold. Bonds remain confused, though, trading back and forth, not really sure which way to go. And what do we have at dinner time? We're going to have the Tagliatelle with Prosciutto and Cherry Tomatoes. Delish and so simple to make. Okay, so stocks could continue to get hammered on Friday. And then we got the CrowdStrike news, right? Down 11% after a failed upgrade that affected a range of industries and banks, hospitals, airlines, and emergency services around the world, only adding to the angst. The NASDAQ losing another 0.8% brought the total loss for the week down to 3.6%. The cybersecurity sector on Friday was down 1.5%, semis down 3%, and the tech sector ETF, the XLK, was down 1.6%. The rotation that began a couple of weeks ago that led investors and traders and algos to trim positions in the big tech winners and move money into the underperformers was supposed to be proof that the rally was in fact broadening out as the Fed prepared to change policy and cut rates starting in September. But that mindset came under fire last week, right? Some investors running for the door, hitting the sell button on nearly every sector that they had. The money that was raised was moving to cash and cash equivalents and gold in what is known as the safety play, right? Gold rallied more than 5% in the last 2 weeks, suggesting that investors are putting money in that safe trade. But on the other side of this trade are investors that are taking advantage of the angst and continue to put money to work at a discount, right? For example, Amazon down 9%, Apple down 5%, Microsoft down 7%, as well as a host of other names under pressure just due to some of this selling, right? Causing us to ask, did the story really change? Well, no, but when asset managers need to raise quick cash, they sell the biggest names in the sectors that are stretched, right? Names that, by the way, they help to stretch. So as individual investors, you shouldn't overreact just on this news, right? Remember, for every seller, there's a buyer. So while some investors want out, clearly others want in. And that's what makes this so exciting. The headlines making it all very dramatic, right? Name things like Dow gets crushed and NASDAQ under fire and the volatility index surges, right? The VIX last week rose by 32%. The sellers can't get out fast enough, and so stocks decline. But remember that when the market is under pressure, it is the buyers, in fact, who are in control of the action. Why, you ask? Well, because the sellers are so panicky that they're looking for someone to take them out of their position. And so the buyers get to set the price, which is lower, right? Forcing the sellers to either take it or leave it. And the lower the bids go, the more angst it creates, and the more the sellers want out, and the more prices decline. And then the more uncomfortable it gets, right? It goes from the fear of missing out on the way up as stocks just get taken to new heights, to the fear of losing money on the way down. It's not any more complicated than that. The only thing you need to ask yourself is this, and I keep telling you this, you got to ask yourself, has the story changed? Are investors selling stocks because the fundamentals are now different? Or did investors take stocks to levels that don't support the current data? Essentially, did prices just get too damn high? Because there is a difference, And don't forget, you only lose money if you actually take the loss, meaning that you sell your stocks. If you own quality names and the story hasn't changed, then why would you sell stocks? You got to ask yourself, why wouldn't I buy more if it's on sale, right? You have to really think that way. You just have to make sure the story hasn't changed. Bonds continue to toss and turn as investors continue to weigh the Fed's next move. The TLT was down 0.5% on Friday. The TLH was down 0.5%. The AG was down 0.2%, while the 2-year is now yielding 4.51%, and the 10-year is yielding 4.22%. right? We continue to get mixed messages from different Fed heads as the market awaits the results from this month's FOMC meeting that begins actually next week. We're now entering the blackout period, right? So don't expect to hear anything from these FOMC members, right, of the Fed after Wednesday. There shouldn't be any surprises, though. Rates to remain unchanged this month, but September is most likely going to see a change. That's what they've been preparing the markets for, actually September, November, and December rate cut. Oil on Friday fell by $2 as renewed hopes over a Gaza ceasefire took hold. Secretary of State Antony Blinken hinting on Friday that it is within sight. A ceasefire in Israel will also cause the Houthis to stop the attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea. This morning, oil is down another 40 cents at $79.75. The trend line is at $79.60. And then $79.40. They're very close, right? A failure to hold these trend lines could see oil trade down to $77 range. Gold, which traded up through $2,500 last week, did give back some of that move on some profit taking and on the idea that we're in for a soft landing, with investors assuming that we're going to get 3 rate cuts in the fall. Gold will surely benefit. Remember, low rates cause the dollar to fall, and that supports higher gold and commodity prices because of the inverse relationship, right? Higher dollar, lower commodity prices, lower dollar, higher commodity prices. Okay, so what else is new? Well, by now you heard that JoJo is out, and it appears that the baton is going to be passed to someone. We don't know yet, but Cammie's hoping that it's her. But there is a curious silence from some of the other senior members of the party as they have not endorsed her yet. Are the Dems conceding the White House? Are they going to put Cammie up only to have her lose rather than putting up someone that they feel is a real contender in 2028 by now? Donnie can no longer use the age issue as an issue. In fact, they can and will most likely use the age issue on him. Because no matter who they pick, they're surely not picking another 80-year-old. The next 4 months is going to be very, very interesting and will most likely add to the volatility that we see in the August through October time period. In any event, the Dems are hoping that by putting up Cammie, they're going to take back the black vote, the female vote, and if they choose Pennsylvania's Josh Shapiro, they also can take back the Jewish vote, or at least that's what they think they can do. U.S. futures this morning were up. Dow futures up 60, the S&P's up 35, the Nasdaq up 180, and the Russell's up 9. But remember, stocks have gotten beaten up, so this bounce is not necessarily unexpected. Some are suggesting that the Biden news means nothing for the markets. And in the long run, that is true. Political events don't mean anything for stock prices, right? But I would say that all of this political drama can and does cause the short-term chaos. In fact, you could say that all the weakness we saw over the past 2 weeks was because of the uncertainty over what was going to happen. What was JoJo going to do? Was he in or was he out? Now that he's out, he's out. There's no more uncertainty. That is certain. He is out. So the markets can now focus on who the 2 candidates will be and then react to what it thinks the chances are for either a Democratic win or a Republican win. And we won't really know that until we know who the Democrats are putting up on the ticket. There is no economic data today, but later in the week, we're going to get the Philly Fed Services and Manufacturing reports. We're going to get existing home sales numbers. We're going to get S&P Manufacturing and Services PMIs, both expected to be in expansionary territory. We're going to get new home sales, and then the much-anticipated PCE deflator index, which is expected to come in at 0% month over month and 2.4% year over year, which is down from 2.6% last month, giving that rate cut narrative even more fuel. The S&P closed at 55.05 on Friday, down 40 points, down 3% from the all-time high. Short-term trend lines at 54.10. That's down another 1.7% from here, leaving us well within the normal trading range, a level I believe that we're going to have to test. The last time we tested trendline support was on May 31st. So there's a lot of time there we need to test it. Expect the chatter today to be all about who is in the lead and who the Dems are going to pick as the vice presidential candidate. Names being considered for that position include Newsom, Whitmer, Pritzker, Shapiro, and Bashar. Remember, Cammie is not a shoo-in, so don't go bidding on the ranch just yet. She may ultimately be, but today she's not a shoo-in. From an investment perspective, continue to focus on the opportunities created by all this chaos. Remember, having a plan is the key for the long-term investor. Staying focused is the key. Give me a call to discuss, because I'm always happy to discuss it. Okay, so what do we have for dinner tonight? So this is the tagliatelle, prosciutto, and cherry tomatoes in a light cream sauce. It is delicious and rather simple to make. For this you need, and I use the fresh tagliatelle, so go to the store and buy fresh homemade, or make it yourself homemade tagliatelle. You need diced prosciutto, you need diced cherry tomatoes, scallions, shallots, butter, light cream, salt and pepper, fresh basil, and then of course you need the fresh grated Parmesan cheese. Bring a pot of salted water to a rolling boil, leave it on the back burner so it's ready when you need it. Now, in a large saute pan, begin by melting a half a stick of butter, and then add in the sliced shallots and the sliced scallions, right? You're using the white part only of the scallion, not any of the green, just right up to where the white meets the green. Saute that around for 3 or 4 minutes. Then add in the diced prosciutto, saute that for 3 or 5 minutes. You don't want it to become really, really crusty. Turn the heat down to low now and add in 1 cup of light cream. Stir it to blend. Now add in a couple of basil leaves. You tear them up and add in the basil leaves and mix that and leave it on low. Now add the fresh pasta to the boiling water. Remember, fresh pasta will cook in 3 to 4 minutes. This is not an 8 or 9 minute event, right? While the pasta is cooking, season the sauce with salt and pepper and add in the diced cherry tomatoes and then mix it all up. When the pasta is done, using tongs, take the pasta out of the pot, put it directly into the saute pan and mix it with the sauce to coat. If you need, now if it's sucking up all the sauce, which it will most likely do, add in a ladle of the pasta water to keep it moist, right? Then add in 2 handfuls of fresh grated Parmesan cheese and serve this immediately. Remember, always have extra cheese on your table for your guests. This is a great dish. It's a great summer dish. It's easy to make. Fresh garden cherry tomatoes if you have them, scallions, and the basil right off the plant. In any event, it is a spectacular day down here in Cape Cod, and it looks like maybe it's going to be a good day for the markets. Until tomorrow, take good care.